Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's understand Claude Code from zero to hero. Basically, I'll cover right from installing Claude Code CLI on your terminal to understanding different features of Claude Code to using concepts like MCP skills with Claude Code, building enterprise applications with Claude Code, and even how to use open models with Claude Code. I'll cover all of that in today's video. And just like any other zero to hero tutorial on this channel, even for this, I have created a GitHub repository. So after watching this video, you can follow the notes using the GitHub repository. Let me quickly go through the repo because it has a very useful information. So this is a repository. It's called Claude Code Crash Course. I'll share the link in the description and also in the pinned comment. Now, if you go through this repository, you can find different MD files. The video also covers the concepts in the same order, starting with what is Claude Code, then installation and configuration of Claude Code CLI, how to use your first session, how to use the built-in / commands within Claude Code, how to switch between the permission modes and settings, and then how does Claude Code handle the agent memory. Then we will understand how to manage context efficiently using Claude Code, which is a very important concept. This will also help you understand how to save money while using coding agents like Claude Code. Then we will understand how to create a custom / command. Then we will understand how to use hooks. What exactly are hooks? How can they help you secure your entire environment? Then we will cover MCP servers, subagents within Claude Code, skills and plugins, headless mode. You don't have to get into the Claude Code CLI. How can you use one-time command or one-time execution using Claude Code? And finally, some best practices. This is exactly what we are going to cover. At any point of the video, let's say you could not follow the command that I'm using, or maybe after watching the video, you want to revise a particular concept, you can just head to this GitHub repository. You can go to the relevant topic. Let's say you want to revise the memory management or agent memory. You can just go to this file. You will find everything that you need. Perfect. So this is how you use the GitHub repository. Now that you understood what we are going to cover in today's video, let's get started. What exactly is Claude Code? Now, in very simple terms, Claude Code is an AI agent that is developed by the company Anthropic. Now, if you are a beginner, you will have this question: what is the difference between an AI agent and AI assistant? Very simple, and this is a good question. On day-to-day basis, you use tools like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an AI assistant. Basically, you can go to ChatGPT, you can ask it a question, and it will answer the question for you. Just imagine, within your organization, you are given with a task to create a Python application and deploy the Python application. Maybe a simple to-do Python application. You can go to ChatGPT, you can provide it with the same question. What it does, it will give you a list of steps. It will tell you, this is how you create a Python application. This is how you package the Python application. And this is how you deploy the Python application. Now it is your responsibility to take these steps and execute these steps on a machine. So with ChatGPT, you can achieve your task, but there is a human intervention. That is how AI assistants work. Whereas when you look at an AI agent, predominantly how it differs, an agent can execute the end-to-end action on your behalf. So you can go to the agent, you can explain the same thing. I want to create and deploy an application. It will create the application, it will deploy the application, and it will get back to you saying, this is the URL for the application, or this is the application that is deployed for you. That is the difference between an AI assistant and AI agent. In simple words, assistant can answer your questions. It can provide you with the list of steps for the action to be completed. Whereas an agent can execute the end-to-end action on your behalf. Now, Claude Code is an agent, it is not an assistant. Cool. Now, are there multiple AI agents? Definitely yes. Along with Claude Code, there are agents like Codex, there is Copilot from GitHub, and there are n number of agents. Then Abhishek, why did Claude Code become very popular? There are many reasons we are going to cover in today's video. When we will cover about the different features of Claude Code, you will understand why this became very popular. But one of the main reasons, when Claude Code was initially launched, it was launched as a CLI tool. For example, let's say I'm working on a code base. Let's say I'm working on this repository. There are different files. I want to add a new feature. Once I install Claude Code, I can just head to the terminal, and if I type Claude, you can see an AI agent is running here. Now I can just go to this agent and provide it with the steps or provide it with the task. It will complete the task, and once it is done, I can see the executed task here. Probably I can ask it to add one more MD file and it will do it for me. Or I can say deploy this application and it will do it for me. Perfect. So it started as a CLI tool, and developers and DevOps engineers really like this experience. Instead of having the agent running somewhere or instead of having agent on their browser, they have the agent running within the terminal. But then Anthropic decided to make the adoption more viral. They want more people to use it, not just developers and DevOps engineers. So eventually, they also added a VS Code extension of Claude Code. Today, you can go to Visual Studio Code, and within the extensions, if you search for Claude, you will also find a Visual Studio Code extension. This is the one. And there is also a desktop application for Claude Code. There is also a mobile application for Claude Code. So you can use in any of these ways. However, I would recommend to use the CLI option of Claude Code because within your organization, this is how you would be using most of the times because of the well integrated experience. Perfect. So summary, what is Claude Code? Claude Code is an AI agent that is developed by the parent company Anthropic. Predominantly, it is used as a CLI tool, but it also supports VS Code extension, desktop application, and mobile application. What are some of the features of Claude Code? Before we start using it or before we start learning the different concepts of Claude Code, one, it is a terminal native one, as I explained. Then you can use Claude Code for creating applications, for writing test cases, and any of your day-to-day activities. The good thing about Claude Code, it supports a very good context, smart context. That is, you don't have to explain Claude Code a lot of things. Once you start Claude here, it understands your application, it understands the different files in it. You can just start working on it. Then it also can be integrated with Git. Let's say you want to push your changes to Git, it supports it. And the most important thing, the pure speed of Claude Code is what makes Claude Code or the adoption of Claude Code very, very huge. Perfect. Now that you understood what is Claude Code, let's move to the next topic. How to install Claude Code. Now for this, we will head to the official documentation. You can just search for Claude Code docs or you can find that link in the description as well. Once you are here, head to the quick start section. There are two prerequisites. One, a very basic prerequisite. You need a terminal. Most of the laptops today have a terminal by default. Or if you have a specific terminal requirement, you can also go for that. For example, in my case, I'm using Ghosty as the terminal. Once you have the terminal, the other prerequisite, you need a active Claude subscription. But Abhishek, if I go to the pricing page, I can see try Claude for free. Now you need to understand this is only for the Claude assistant. This is not for the Claude agent. Just like how you can use ChatGPT for free, you can also use the Claude Assistant for free. You can create an account. Once you have the account, you can use the Claude Assistant to ask the basic questions, just like how you use ChatGPT on your day-to-day basis. But if you want to use Claude as an agent, maybe through your CLI or through the desktop application, then you either need a pro subscription or the max subscription. The primary difference between pro and max subscription is the number of tokens that you can get. But Abhishek, what are tokens? Don't worry. As we move to the next topics in the video, you will understand tokens in detail. But at this moment, just understand the usage of Claude Code Agent. You can get more with the max subscription. You can create more number of applications. You can write more number of test cases, or you can build more projects if you go for the max subscription. And max subscription can go up to 200 US dollars as well. You can see here, this is 100 US dollars. But if you want 20x usage, then you have to pay 200 US dollars and additional taxes as well. Perfect. Now you might have a question, Abhishek, is there any way I can get Claude for free? Yes, there are some options. You can use Claude Code with Light LLM, or you can use Claude Code with Open Router, and you can possibly use their free models. But you will not get the same coding experience, or you will not get the same agentic experience while using Claude Code with Anthropic proprietary models. The models like Fable, the models like Opus, Sonnet, the free models will not give you the same experience. Perfect. Towards the end of this video, I'll also show you how to use Claude Code along with the free models. Now going back to the quick start, assuming you have both the prerequisites, I have the terminal, I have the Claude Code subscription as well, then you have to just execute this command. The same command works on macOS, Linux, as well as WSL. If you're using Windows, then better go for WSL. You can just install using a single command, Windows subsystem for Linux. Copy this command, execute this command on the terminal. This single curl command will download Claude and it will install Claude for you. I already have this, so I'm not executing it. Perfect. Once you are done with this, just type Claude and you should see something like this. If you don't see something like this, and if you run into any error, there are some troubleshooting steps here. Just follow the troubleshooting installation. Now that this is clear, let's move to the next step. How to use Claude Code to interact with your project. Now this is actually very simple. In fact, I explained this at the beginning of this video as well. Anyways, now let's deep dive. The first thing that you do when you join a project, you download the source code of the project, or maybe you clone the source code of the project. Once you do that, you switch to the directory. Now to interact with this project using Claude, all that you have to do in the directory, just type Claude. In my case, I'm using a repository called Argo CD because it has so many source code files. Now I started Claude. I can just ask Claude, explain the goal of this project. If you observe carefully, I haven't provided Claude with any context. Because this is a simple activity, because this is a simple task, Claude can go through the source code files. It can perform the analysis and it can explain you what is this project. In no time it explained Argo CD, declarative GitOps CD tool for Kubernetes. Core goal, keep the live state cluster matched to the desired state in the Git repo. Further, it explained few more things as well, which is good. Now, not only basic explanation of the project, you can also use Claude Code to make some changes. For example, I will say in the README file, add this is the best project. Okay, this is a vague thing I know, but just to show you, using Claude Code, you can instantly make changes to your source code files as well. If you're working on a feature, just provide some information of the feature. It will go through the files. It will understand where to make the changes. And this way, it will get back to you saying, these are the lines that I want to change. So in this case, it says, I'm adding this new line. This is the best project. And it is asking me for the approval. Do you want to go ahead? Like, do you want me to go ahead and make the changes? I'll just say yes. Now you might have a question. Abhishek, at the beginning of this video, you told Claude Code is an agent and it can perform actions without your approval. Then why is it asking for approval? See, basically coding agents have advanced a lot. Now they can perform dangerous actions as well. For example, if you provide a wrong command or if you provide a wrong instruction, it can delete all the files from your laptop. To avoid that, what Anthropic did in the default mode, like if you're using Claude, you can see here, this is called manual mode. This is the default mode. In this mode, it will ask you for the approval. Abhishek, can I change the mode? Can I move to something called auto mode? Yes. If you just press Shift tab, you can see the modes are changing from manual mode. Now we are in the plan mode and now we are in the auto mode. If you perform any activity in the auto mode, it will not ask you for the approval. It might give you some suggestions, but it will not ask you for the approval. So this is how you interact with your project using Claude Code. Make some changes, interact basic questions, or even add some test cases. Now, before we move to the next step, I want you to understand some basic shortcuts. Because this is predominantly CLI experience, we will be using the CLI. So there are 2 to 3 shortcuts you should understand before going to the next step. The first thing, let's say you are asking Claude Code, show me the test case coverage. Okay. Now Claude will start performing the action, but you want it to stop. Maybe you provided a wrong instruction, or maybe you don't want it to do it. Just press escape. Right? Lot of times you want to stop Claude, you want to interrupt Claude, you just have to press escape. You can see interrupted. Or maybe you want to go to the previous instruction. Okay, now you interrupted it. Now you want to Claude to go back to the previous action it performed. Probably adding this is the best project. Or even before that. How would you do that? Just press escape twice. Right? If I press escape twice, it will show me the list of things I asked Claude to do in this session. Just like the history command. If you're using Linux, you know the history command, almost the same thing. But the thing here is that here using the up arrow, I can move the state to a particular thing. Right now, this is where I am. If I want, I can go to this instruction, show me the test case coverage, or if I want, I can go to the previous one as well. For example, I'll go with explain the goal of this project, and you can see when I press on enter, restore code and conversation. So it is taking the complete thing to that particular state. I'll just say yes, restore code and conversation, and there you go. Now it went back to the state, explain the goal of this project. So it is similar to the history command, but using the up and down arrow, you can take your Claude Code to that particular context. This is again very useful, especially when you're working on a huge activity. Okay, now how do you exit from Claude? Just use Ctrl C and press Ctrl C twice. Right? If I press Ctrl C twice, I exited out of the Claude Code experience. Or even I can just say /exit as well. Abhishek, I exited Claude Code. Now I want to go back to the same session of Claude Code. Like I want to go back to the previous session of Claude Code. How can I do it? There is an option. You can just say Claude ---- resume. And it will show all the list of the sessions. So these are the previous sessions that I worked with Claude. This is the previous session. Explain the project goal. I'll just click on it and it will start from the same thing. So these are some basic day-to-day commands that you would use. Press escape once if you want Claude to interrupt. Press escape twice if you want to look at the history and go back to a particular point in the history. Press Ctrl C twice if you want to exit Claude Code, use Claude-resume if you want to go to a particular session that you already used. Now that this is clear, let's move to the next step. Built-in slash commands. We just looked at shortcuts. Shortcuts are definitely useful, but they can only help you with simple things like switching between the modes or exiting Claude Code. What if you want to do more with Claude Code? Let's say you want to see the model that you are currently using, or maybe you want to switch to a different model. How do you do that? This is exactly where built-in slash commands can help you. They are called slash commands because you have to start your message with a slash. When you start your message with a slash, Claude Code lists out the built-in slash commands that you can use. There are close to 30 to 40 built-in slash commands. You can go through each one of them, or you can go through our MD file as well. Anyways, I'll cover the most important ones. As I told you, you want to look at the model that you are currently using. Just type slash model. Press enter. You will see the model that you are currently using. I'm using Sonnet because I'm working on a simple routine task. Like whatever I'm explaining, it's routine task. So I don't have to go with Fable or Opus. That's why I'm using Sonnet. Let's say I want to switch to Haiku or I want to switch to Fable 5. I can just use the up arrow or down arrow and press enter. If I use the down arrow, I'll go to Haiku model. I'll click on enter. You can see model is set to Haiku 4.5. Now the next instructions will start using Haiku 4.5 until I switch to a different model. Similarly, you want to track the usage. Again, very useful because especially when you are using Claude Pro Access, that is the $20 thing, you want to track your daily, weekly, and monthly usage. Because 2 days down the line, you might work on an important activity. If you consume all your capacity currently, like today you consume all your tokens, then your weekly limit is exhausted. 2 days after, when you are working on a critical activity, you will not be left with any usage. Claude Code tells you you have hit your weekly usage. You definitely don't want that to happen. So always run the slash usage command. And once you look at it, just press escape. You will go back to the terminal. Another important slash command, in fact, very, very important, slash init. Remember this command because what it does, imagine you're working on a new repository. Okay. So you joined an organization, you are given with a repository, and this repository, nobody has worked with it using Claude. You are the first one. So you will just go to Claude and you will just type slash init. This will prepare a file called Claude.md, everything in capital. This Claude.md file provides the guidance to the Claude agent. Okay. This provides the guidance to the Claude agent about the repository. For example, there are some important things in the repository that Claude has to remember. Maybe how to build the package, how to deploy the application, what is the folder structure, what are some important limitations of the project. The Claude.md file will have all of this. Whenever Claude performs an activity, if required, it will look at the Claude.md file. This way, it can reduce the token utilization for you. And this way, it can remember more information about your project. Abhishek, what if the Claude.md file did not capture something important? No problem. You can go to this file and you can edit the file. Claude agent looks at this file and it understands what you are trying to explain. That's why Claude.md file provides the guidance to the project. Now this has become very, very popular. Today, if you look at even the popular repositories, for example, if you go to Argo CD, right? This is an open source project. Even within this project, you can find the Claude.md file. So you can understand the utilization of this. I'll just type Claude.md and you can find the file. Right? So how do you create this Claude.md file? Just go back to Claude and type slash init. There is already Claude.md file, but this will create a new one. Just to show you, and I'll quickly show you what is the context in this file. Like, what is this file updated with? I'll go to the new tab because Argo CD already has the Claude.md file. So it will say the file already exists. I'll take a new tab, cat Claude.md, and quickly show you. So this is the content of the file. This file provides guidance to Claude Code when working with code in the repository. What does it remember? Common commands. How to lint the project, like how to verify the linting of the project, how to build the project locally, how to build the CLI, how to lint the user interface, and what is the folder structure of the project. So let's say you're asking Claude to create a feature. It will immediately look at the Claude.md. It will understand everything about the project, whatever it could not understand directly. Maybe you have passed some instructions. It will look at Claude.md and it will start working on the project. Even if you don't provide Claude.md, it will still work. But when you provide Claude.md, it can work more efficiently. Another slash command, I'll just escape. Another slash command, slash login. Maybe you have two Claude accounts, right? One account you are using along with Open Router, one account you are using with the Claude Frontier models. You can use the slash login and you can switch between the Anthropic accounts, right? So press slash login, it will open or it will ask you for the token, it will go for your browser authentication and it will log in with the relevant user. Along with these things, like these are four important commands, what I just covered: slash init, slash model, slash usage, slash login. Along with that, there are some basic things. For example, you want to see all the built-in slash commands and you want to understand what exactly each command does. Just press slash help. Now this will show you the built-in commands and their use cases. Or maybe you want to clear all this context. Okay. Like just like when you're working on a Linux machine, you want to clear the complete text on your screen. What you usually do? You press clear. Now here you will just type slash clear and this will erase all the context within this session. See, I'll just do slash clear. Everything is gone. But you have to be careful with it. Now you are not only clearing the text on your screen, but you are also clearing the context that agent has about whatever you are performing. Maybe you are working on a task. Then you have to be very careful about slash clear. I would recommend this thing. Whenever you are switching between the tasks, you are working on three tasks. First task is complete, then do slash clear. Do not frequently do slash clear. You are completed with task 2, then again do slash clear. Then again do slash clear once your third task is done. You might say, but Abhishek, what is the point of doing slash clear? I'm fine. I'll just keep using the same Claude session for multiple tasks that I'm working on. There is a problem. You know, every model has something called context window. For example, if you are going with Haiku model, if I am correct, it has a context window of 256k tokens. After that, it will start hallucinating or the performance of it will go down. If you are going with Opus or Fable, then yeah, the context window is 1 million tokens. So it can remember a lot of context. What I'm trying to say, so everything that you see on the terminal within the session, you see huge amount of text that is basically context. Whatever you have in this session, agent will try to remember. So if you keep using the same session, there will be a lot of text on the screen. This is what agent remembers. That is called context. If it exceeds 256 tokens, then the performance of the Haiku or the Sonnet model will come down. If it exceeds 1 million, which is actually huge, but still, if it exceeds, the performance of Opus or Fable can also come down. But Abhishek, is there anything that I can do? Like, I don't want to clear everything. You can also do something called slash compact. What slash compact does, it will not clear all the context, but it will reduce the context. Compact, you can understand, right? So it will just compact the context. Instead of having, like, if you have 250 tokens of context on your session, then this might come down to 125 token context, right? So keep using slash clear and slash compact wherever it is useful. You can look at other slash commands on the GitHub repository, or you can just use slash help and look at all the slash commands. Just spend some 30 minutes to 1 hour. They are definitely useful. Now that this is clear, let's move to the next topic: permission modes and how to configure custom permissions. By default, there are 4 modes in Claude. The default mode, manual mode. If I press here and let's say I use Shift tab, you will notice this will change from manual mode to edits mode. And when I press Shift tab again, this will change to plan mode. And finally, auto mode. Let's understand what each of this mode means in detail. The first one, the manual mode, that itself explains Claude or the agent does not take any action without your permission, like any write action. By default, it can only read the files. So it will read the files. Let's say you ask it to create a pull request, or maybe you ask it to update a particular module. It will not do it without asking your permissions. It will list out the changes and it will then ask you, will you approve these changes? Only then it will move to committing those changes. Exactly what we have seen. For example, we are in manual mode now. I'll just say update readme file with a new line in the beginning saying what is this project. Now, I just said add a new line to the readme file. You will notice it read the file. It did not ask for a permission. That means read is granted. Now it is trying to go through the file. It will try to add the change. If you observe, for read, it did not ask our permission. But when it is writing, now it says, do you want to make this edit to the readme.md file? That means only if I press yes, this will go on. This is the manual mode. The most safest mode. You don't have the risk of deleting any files, like your agent cannot accidentally delete your files or agent cannot accidentally do anything. Then there is this mode. If you switch to accept edits only. Now what does this do? Files edits are approved automatically. Command still asks for your permission. What does this mean? It can make the change. Like the change that you have seen here, this change is made, but in edit mode, let's say you ask it to commit this change. For committing the change, it has to run the git commands. Let's see what happens. This should ideally ask for a permission. So it is trying to run git add readme.md, git commit readme.md. You can see, do you want to proceed? That means in edit mode, it can update the files. It can read, it can edit, but if it has to execute any permission, it will take your consent. So even this mode is safe for you. You don't have the risk of accidentally deleting the files on your machine. Perfect. I'll just say no for now and I will change this to auto mode. Let's see what happens. Now I'll just say commit this. You will notice in auto mode, because agent is in auto, it will not ask for your permissions. This is little risky and this is little dangerous. You have to be careful with it. Commit it. Especially if you're just starting with Claude Code, I would highly recommend you to use manual mode and then go to accept edits mode only once you're comfortable. You became good at prompt engineering, you're good at using Claude Code, then go to the auto mode. But Abhishek, then what is this plan mode? Plan mode is basically when you want to perform any thinking activity. Let's say you are designing a Terraform architecture, or maybe you are preparing AWS VPC architecture. before writing the Terraform code, go to the plan mode and start asking agent to prepare the architecture, provide you the detailed architecture. Once your plan is done, you can go to auto mode or edit mode according to your convenience. So Claude can only read and analyze in the plan mode. It produces the plan and it is up to you. If you provide the approval, then it will ask you, should I change to the auto mode and proceed with the execution of the plan. Just like Terraform plan. If you are a DevOps engineer, you already know what is Terraform plan. Almost the same thing. Perfect. So these are about the default permission modes: manual mode, auto mode, plan mode, and accept only mode. Now you might have a question. Abhishek, what if I want to customize? Okay, these are the default modes. What if I want to allow certain things and I want to deny certain things? I want to use the auto mode. So this mode here, I want to use the auto mode, but I want to make sure RM minus RF is disabled. That is, I don't want Claude to delete the complete file system on my local machine, even when I'm in the auto mode. Accidentally, even if I ask Claude to delete it, it should not delete it. Or while performing any activity, it should not delete files on my file system. How can I do it? Yes, you can customize the permissions. Just use the slash command, one more slash command. And again, this is also built-in slash command. Just do slash permissions. Press enter. My bad. I should have done slash permissions. Slash permissions. Press enter. You will see a tab here, right? Permissions, recently denied, allow, ask, deny, workspace. Go to deny, click on add a new rule, and here you can paste the permission rule. For example, I'll paste this JSON. My bad. I have the JSON within the GitHub file. I'll just paste it here. Which GitHub file I'm talking about? Don't worry. Go to our GitHub repository. I'm currently in permission modes. Go to this one and you will see the JSON that I am copying. As I told you, at any point of this tutorial, this GitHub repository can help you. If you observe, what is the deny rule? Deny RM-RF. Deny reading the environment secrets. Deny the web fetch. That is, do not fetch anything from the internet. Think from the source code. Read the source code, analyze the source code. This way, you can deny set of actions. And you can also allow set of actions. Perfect. So this is how you define custom permissions. Now just press enter. It will ask, do you want to configure this at your project settings level? Do you want to configure this at your personal project level? Or do you want to do it at the user settings level? Now I have to explain you what is the difference between these three things. In fact, that is asked in the Claude Code certification as well. I have recently given Claude Code certification. Like, even if you are giving, this topic will definitely help you. So let me explain in detail. So when you are going with custom permissions, there are three levels at which you can define the custom permissions. One, local level. Now what does local level mean? Saved in .claude settings.local.json. So anything that you configure at the local level, this is your personal setting. Then you have an option where you can configure at the project settings level. What does this mean? Let's say you're working in a team and you want to share some Claude Code permission settings within your team. You want every developer within your team to use the permissions. So you can select this option, the project settings. It is created in .claude settings.json and you can share it with your team as well. Then you have the user level settings. What does this mean? User level settings is applicable for every Claude project that you are doing. For example, right now I'm working on Argo CD project. Then maybe I'll switch to Argo workflows. Then maybe I'll switch to one of my personal projects. If I configure this at the user level, all the projects that I'm using with Claude will get these permissions. The same thing is explained here. Project settings saved in .claude settings.local.json. This will be your personal thing. You can commit it to Git. You cannot commit it to Git. It's up to you. Project settings .claude settings.json. You can share it with your team. You can share it within your enterprise. User setting. This is applicable for your entire projects that you work with Claude. Perfect. I've explained the same thing in the GitHub repository as well, right? You can find the exact same thing. Your personal defaults for all the projects. This is .claude settings.json user level. .claude settings.json. You can commit it to Git, share with your team. Settings.local.json. This is just for you, ignored by Git. I know I'm repeating this, but there is a reason why I'm repeating this. This is very, very useful, especially when you're working in the organization. The default 4 modes are not good enough. You want to customize the permissions. Imagine you are working within your organization. You use the auto mode, that is, you are telling agent to go ahead. I will not, you don't have to ask me whether to approve this command, deny this command. It is dangerous because at some point, agent might read some document, agent might think on its own, and it might delete important files from your file system. On the other way, you cannot keep using the manual mode also, because every time Claude will ask you to approve the changes. Imagine you're working on a different task. The Claude agent terminal will stop for your approval. So you cannot even use that. Like, you cannot do multitasking if you go with manual mode. That's why the permission slash command is very, very useful. In fact, you can pause the video here, go through the document until and unless you are clear about the permission modes and the settings. Now that this is clear, let's move to the next topic. Let's look at two topics together: CLAUDE.md and memory, and managing context. The reason is simple. We already looked at most of it during the slash commands. The slash built-in commands. Let me quickly walk through them. The first thing, the claude.md file. As I told you, what exactly does this do? When you type /init, Claude agent creates a file called claude.md. What is the responsibility of this file? As we looked in the Argo CD project, this file provides guidance to Claude Code when working with the code within this repository. What kind of guidance? What the project is and how is the project structured? I'm just telling you the common things that are in the claude.md file. Let me write it for you. Most of the times, this is what you will find in the claude.md file. The first thing, the project structure. What is this project and what is the structure of the project, so that Claude does not have to go through every time. Then what are the commands to build the project, test the project, and any inline commands the project supports, so that if you are working on a feature, Claude can automatically build the project, test the project, and probably share you a local URL. What exactly is the coding style of the project? This is the most important thing, because every organization has a different coding style. By default, Claude can generate any coding style for you if you make sure the claude.md file is updated with your coding style. Claude makes sure every time it generates the code for your organization, it keeps the same style. But Abhishek, what if it is not present in the claude.md file? As I told you, if /init, when it creates a claude.md file, if that MD file does not have a coding style, don't worry, go to the claude.md and just update it. And then anything else that Claude keeps getting wrong. For example, in the claude.md file, you have worked with Claude maybe for 3 different tasks, and every time it is doing something wrong. You can go to claude.md and you can tell Claude, hey, you are doing this task wrong every time. Make sure next time when you work on a similar task, be careful with it. Even those kind of things you can provide in the claude.md file, the one that is generated by /init command. Whenever you work on a new project, go ahead and type /init. You will see an MD file like this. This is about memory. Now let's learn about managing the context. Okay, I've been using this term called context for a while. I have been using token for a while. What exactly is context? What exactly is token? Simple. Context is nothing but everything that Claude is working on currently, everything that it can see, including the messages, including the files that it is reading, commands that it has access to, the content that is within a repository becomes the context. If you're not providing any external context, this is the default context that it can get. If it is working on a GitHub repo, everything that is within the GitHub repository and every message that you typed becomes the context for the Claude agent. Now, what are tokens? Tokens are nothing but, let's say you provided Claude with a prompt and it replied, maybe it provided a detailed answer. Everything model calculates in terms of tokens. You can consider 3/4 of a word as a token. Now, the costing of the large language model depends on the tokens. So, you have to be careful how much output is your model providing. If you're just using your model for very trivial activities, for example, you have Fable model and you use Fable model for trivial things like you are asking Fable model to explain the project. You don't have to do it because Fable 1 million context or 1 million tokens, the output tokens is basically 50 US dollars. So using Fable, if you generate output of 1 million tokens, you can calculate roughly one token is 3/4 word. So if Fable provides an output of 1 million tokens, you will be charged with 50 US dollars. On the contrary, if you're going with Opus 4.8, which is also a powerful model, but this will only cost you 15 US dollars. Probably if you go with Sonnet, it might only cost you 5 US dollars. So every time you're working on a task, you have to choose a model. If you're working on writing documentation, just go for Sonnet model. If you're working on a security task, yeah, you might have to go with the Fable model. If you're going with an enhancement, you can go with Opus 4.8. That is why I keep saying tokens are very important. I hope this is clear now. What is the difference between context and token? Once again, context is whatever your Claude agent is seeing and whatever you have provided the information to your Claude agent. It can be through files, it can be through text, it can be through architecture diagram as well. Every information that you provide before it works on a task is basically the context, or even information that it gets while working on a task is basically the context that it has. Fine. Now let's understand the concept of hooks. Because Claude is very powerful, if you decide to use it within your organization, you should definitely use the hooks. I'll give you a very simple example. Imagine you're working on a task with Claude and accidentally one of the users, or even it can be you write a prompt and within the prompt you commit the API token, or accidentally you share your API token with Claude. It can be directly within a prompt, or maybe one of the files within your repository has an API token and there is a chance Claude can read it. Of course, you don't want this to happen. How can you prevent this? You can prevent such thing using hook. Not only this thing, any kind of sensitive thing you can prevent using the hook. Now you can define hook at various levels. For example, Claude supports 6 to 7 very popular hooks. The first one, pre-tool hook. Now this is a type of hook. What you deal with this? The pre-tool use, this executes before a tool runs or before Claude tries to run a command. And if required, the pre-tool use will block the execution of Claude or will block the action of the Claude. Similarly, you can run something called post-tool use. As the name suggests, after a tool succeeds, let's say Claude is running an action and the action is successful, then basically you can use this post-tool hook. This is good for formatters or this is good for linters. Maybe using Claude you are writing an application. Application is written by Claude. Then you can tell Claude to run this post tool use, or if you configure it, Claude will definitely run it, and it will verify the linting according to your organizational standard. User prompt submit. This is another kind of hook which I'm talking about. This will verify when user sends a message before the model sees it. It verifies if there is any kind of sensitive information that is being submitted. Very useful one, right? If, if you're working in an organization, you should use this user prompt submit type hook, so that if user writes a prompt, before the prompt is sent to the model, the user prompt submit hook will verify if there is any sensitive information. Similarly, there are other hooks like stop. This hook will execute when Claude finishes responding. It can be successful, it cannot be successful. When you define a hook of type stop, it will execute. Similarly, there are session start, notification, where you can ask Claude to send an email notification or a Slack notification when a particular task is done. These are the different type of hooks that you can configure. Most important ones that you might use, this is the one: user prompt submit hook, notification hook, where let's say you are heading to lunch, right? And you're asking Claude to work on an action. You can configure the notification hook. It will send you a message on Slack that the particular task is done. Okay, Abhishek, this is looking good. But now, how do I configure a hook? Okay, there are different types of hooks that I can configure, but how do I exactly do it? You can just go to your terminal, like go back to the terminal. You can do this at user level, project level, local level, the same thing that I explained. Let's say you want to do this at the project level within the Argo CD project and you want to share it within your team. Here, create a folder like .claude, create this, head to .claude, the one that we just created, and create a file called settings.json. I think there is a typo, but yeah, create a file called settings.json, and within this file, you can paste any kind of hook that you want to configure. Let's say I'm configuring the post tool use. This is the syntax for it. This is in the GitHub repo as well. Hook of type post tool use. What I'm saying, if Claude has performed edit or the write action using the command, execute this particular command, npx prettier -- write. Guess what is this hook actually doing? This is the post tool use. What we learned, post tool use is executed once Claude completes its execution. The same thing, once Claude completes the write or the edit action, just run npx prettier. So if Claude has written 10 different files, this hook is saying run the linting and improve the format or the linting of the written files. Similarly, you can say just verify if there is any linting issues within this, or maybe you can say see if there are any white spaces, or you can say there should not be a particular word within the generated thing. Maybe it is writing documentation. You can say if it is a documentation change, I don't want Claude to write a particular word. If there is a particular word, the hook should fail. This is how you can use it. I showed you example of post tool use, but similarly within the repository, you can also find hooks for blocking. You can find hooks for different use cases, even notification. For example, this is how you configure notification. I'll remove this hook and let me quickly paste it. Hook of type notification. Hooks, whenever a command is executed and successful, run this script and display the notification within the terminal. I'm saying display this particular notification on the terminal, but I can just change this to send a notification to Slack or send a notification through the email. Perfect. This is how hooks are used. Now let's move to a very important topic, MCP. Like, how do we use MCP server within a Claude? A lot of you might have this question, but Abhishek, what is MCP? I made a detailed video on MCP. but I'll quickly explain it here. Model Context Protocol, MCP stands for it. Basically, large language models do not have context of everything. Large language models are trained on certain things, but if you tell a large language model, let's say you are using Fable, and if you ask Fable, go to my Jira and fetch the information from Jira, or go to my Kubernetes cluster and fetch the information from the Kubernetes cluster. Go to GitHub, fetch the information from GitHub. It cannot do it because large language models are trained on certain things. It cannot access your internal tools or maybe external tools. MCP is a way where you allow the large language models to access the internal or the external tools. Now, Abhishek, who configures these MCP servers? You don't have to do it. The popular tools like Jira, Kubernetes, GitHub, they already defined their MCP servers. And within Claude, you have the MCP client. So you just have to install this MCP server within your Claude, right? What are the steps that you have to perform? Only one step. Identify the required MCP server and install the MCP server. But Abhishek, why MCP? Why not agents can just use APIs? Now there is difference between API and MCP. There are different tools. Each tool, let's say if it starts implementing its own type of MCP or API, my bad, then it becomes difficult for the agents. It has to understand different API types, it has to understand different standards. That's why what people decided is a standard called Model Context Protocol. So, Model Context Protocol, each of these tools implements the same standards. So, they define their MCP servers. You just have to install those MCP servers, and Claude can start interacting with these tools. What are some popular MCP servers that we use? Maybe as DevOps engineers, GitHub MCP server, Jira MCP server, Kubernetes MCP server, or your database related MCP server, so that Claude can fetch information from it and act upon the action. For example, you say perform troubleshooting on Kubernetes. Using MCP server, it will connect to Kubernetes, it will get the required data, it will perform the analysis, and then it will give you the response back. This is the reason why a pod in your Kubernetes cluster is failing. Or if you ask, explain about a Jira ticket, again, it will use the Jira MCP, fetch the information, perform analysis, and gives you the information back. Okay, now you might have a question. How to configure these MCP servers and how to list the MCP servers that are already configured? Simple. Go back to your terminal. You don't even have to open the Claude Code CLI. Just type the command Claude MCP list. Right now there are no MCP servers. So it would say no MCP servers are configured. To configure an MCP server, just use the command Claude add MCP. That's it. Now, if you provide more information, like exactly it says what kind of MCP server, you haven't provided the information. I can just say, for example, I want to configure Postgres MCP server. I can just say this Claude MCP add -- transport the Postgres, and I am providing the location of the Postgres server. That's it. This will install the Postgres MCP server. Right? As simple as that. One simple command. Now if I do Claude MCP list, you will notice checking MCP server health. So it figured out now there is an MCP server and it says Postgres is the MCP server and it is also connected. On my local, it used the Postgres and it connected to it. This way you can go to GitHub documentation, you can go to other documentation and you can connect the relevant MCP servers. What will you achieve with it? Now if I go to Claude and if I ask Claude, what is the database that I'm using? Okay. Or what is the health of database? What are the tables within the database? Write a select query for the database. It will write the select query and it will act the select query on this particular database. That is the advantage of MCP. You are allowing your large language model to connect to an external or an internal tool. Now let's take a look at another important concept, skills. Skills are introduced after MCP, but recently it became very popular. The concept of skills is very simple. What does a skill do? Using skill, you can instruct Claude to perform an activity in a certain way, right? So what does a skill do? Using a skill, you can instruct the Claude coding agent to perform an activity in a certain way. For example, you want to install a particular tool. By default, if you tell Claude, it can definitely install the tool for you by going through its documentation. But within the skill, you can say, I want to install a tool in a particular way. Best example is Kubernetes. Ask Claude to create a Kubernetes cluster. It will definitely do that for you. But there are n ways of creating a Kubernetes cluster. There are different versions of Kubernetes, different architectures of Kubernetes, different plugins within your Kubernetes. If you create a Kubernetes skill, or maybe you call it Kubernetes installation skill, whenever someone asks Claude, create Kubernetes cluster, it will refer the skill and looks at the instructions in the skill. And according to the instructions, it will set up the Kubernetes cluster within your organization. Nice? As simple as that. But Abhishek, what is in a skill? Nothing. A skill is basically a .md file. Yes, that's the surprising thing. Whenever you hear skill, you might feel, okay, this is something huge. Not really. A skill is basically a simple .md file. So you can just create something called kubernetes.md file, and you have to share it with your Claude in a particular directory. Like within .claude, you can create skills folder, and within the skill, you can put your kubernetes.md file. Call it kubernetes installation.md. That's it. Now, when you use Claude next time, and when you access Claude, let's say you provide a prompt, install Kubernetes cluster. Now Claude understands, okay, user is asking for Kubernetes installation. I have a skill relevant to that. Let me refer to the skill. It refers to the skill. According to the instructions, it sets up the Kubernetes cluster within your organization. That is the concept of skill, right? So on your terminal, just head to the .claude directory. If you are setting it up at the project level, go to this, create a directory called skills. And within this, you can set up something called Kubernetes installation skill, or just say Kubernetes installation.md, or maybe you can create another folder. I'm just telling you different ways of doing it. You can even say mkdir Kubernetes underscore install, head to Kubernetes underscore install, and here just call skills.md. And within the skills.md, just say, I'll just give one line instruction. Always install Kubernetes 1.36. Then you can provide list of instructions. You can say 2 worker nodes, like emphasize on it or enhance on it. Just for the video, I'm writing in a simple way, 2 worker nodes, and use a particular CNI like Calico CNI and save the file. Now, if you go to Claude, within the parent repository, if I just type Claude and if I say install Kubernetes, now what it does, it will look at the skill. It will identify, okay, there is a skill. So let me go through it. It will identify there is a relevant skill, and according to the skill, it will start the instructions. Because I haven't provided more information, there is no clarity. It is trying to understand, okay, which Kubernetes cluster, local or public Kubernetes cluster. But in real time, because you will provide a detailed prompt and you will write a detailed skills.md, this will become simple. And this has almost become a standard now. Most of the tools, for example, if you go to this tool here, uh, if I go to InSforge documentation, which is a database, you can see in the installation of InSforge, they have provided a skills file. This is the CLA setup. They have the skills here. If I download this skill, I can go to Claude, say download InSforge or set up InSforge. It will refer to the InSforge skill. This way, some people are moving from MCP to skills as well. I'll make a detailed video comparing MCP and skill. Right now, you don't have to get confused, but just understand skills is a way of instructing your Claude code. Now, finally, there is one concept that you have to understand, the concept of plugins. What exactly is a plugin? We learned about MCP, we learned about a hook, we learned about commands, we learned about skills. Let's say you want to install a bunch of them. For example, there is a tool. The best example you can take InSforge itself. Let's say you want to install the MCP server of InSforge. You want to install agent of InSforge, skill, command, hook related to InSforge. What this company can do, instead of providing individual MCP server, individual commands, individual hooks, they can just create a plugin and they can ask users, this is the plugin, just install this Claude Code plugin. And they can provide you a curl command. Once they have provided and once you install, within Claude Code, if you just type /plugin, you will see the plugins, right? Right now, these are the plugins that I have. But you can install external plugins as well. Plugins simplifies the installation of skills, MCP, hooks, agents. It bundles them all together and you can install all of them at once. That is the concept of plugin. There are some built-in plugins. Apart from that, once you install, you can see the list of them in the installed section. For example, I've installed Caveman plugin. I've installed InSforge plugin. This way you can do it. Now, apart from all this, within this GitHub repository, I've provided a lot of information related to Claude Code. For anyone that is getting started with Claude Code, they can just follow the MD files in the same order. I've provided more information about MCPs, skills, subagents, best practices. Just go through the documents. And at any point of the video, if you could not follow a particular command, even you can find that in the GitHub repository. I'll add one more section to this GitHub repository on how you can use Claude Code with Open Router. Or maybe I will take that as a different video. If you want to understand that, just let me know in the comment section. How to use Claude Code with Open Router so that you can make use of free models within Open Router. Cool? I hope you found this video insightful. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching today's video. See you all in the next one. Take care.